the unofficial D-Class survival guide to the SCP Foundation. Hello, and welcome to the shadowy depths of the SCP Foundation, where the odd, the dangerous, and the downright bizarre are just part of the daily grind. You've been given the dubious honor of joining our ranks as Class D personnel. Congratulations, or perhaps condolences are in order, because from here on out, every day could be your last. But fear not. This guide is your secret weapon to not just surviving, but maybe even thriving. Let's not get our hopes too high. So, who am I? Think of me as that older cousin who's been through the ringer and has come out slightly singed. I'm here to share the insider tips and tricks that the official orientation won't touch with a 10-foot pole. Why? Because, frankly, they have enough to deal with without worrying about your life expectancy, which, let's face it, in this place, is about as stable as a house of cards in a wind tunnel. In the coming chapters, we'll dive into everything from mastering the fine art of Don't Look, Don't Die with SCP-173, to why making friends with the cafeteria staff could save your skin. Literally, save your skin. It's not just an expression here. We'll cover the essentials of how to walk corridors without becoming permanent decor, how to handle SCPs without losing limbs, and the critical importance of knowing who to trust and when to run like hell. Remember, knowledge is power, humor is a coping mechanism, and here at the SCP Foundation, both are as necessary as breathing, sometimes more so. So strap in, keep this guide handy, and prepare to learn how to navigate the most dangerous workplace on Earth, or any other dimension for that matter. Welcome to the big leagues, kid. Let's keep you alive. Tip 1. Know your monsters and other oddities. Welcome, fresh meat, esteemed new recruit, to the illustrious ranks of Class D personnel at the SCP Foundation. You might be wondering, what have I signed up for? Let's just say, if the usual job hazards include paper cuts and a jammed printer, yours include accidental teleportation and potentially becoming a snack for something with too many teeth. So, let's start with the basics. Knowing your SCPs. First up, understand that SCPs aren't like anything you've dealt with before. Forget lions, tigers, and bears. And think more along the lines of, that thing just moved through the wall and ate Dave. Here at the SCP Foundation, we categorize these anomalies from safe, which is a cute misnomer because nothing here is truly safe, to Keter, aka start praying now. It's crucial to know which SCPs will ignore you, which ones want to wear your skin, and which ones just erase you from history for looking at them funny. For example, if you hear about SCP-173, the first thing you should do is blink in shifts with anyone nearby. This bad boy loves a good neck snap, but only moves when you're not eyeballing it. Then there's SCP-682, a giant lizard with a worse attitude than a toddler without a nap. If you hear it's out of containment, just start running. No heroics. You won't be missed. Next, there's SCP-999. Sounds scary, right? Wrong. It's basically a living orange slime that makes you feel euphoric. It's like stumbling upon a puddle of antidepressants. So not all SCPs will lead you to an untimely demise. Some might just want to cuddle. Now, how does one stay on top of this freak show? Keep your ears open. Always attend the briefings. Yes, they're boring, but less boring than being dead. And make friends with the nerds. I mean, the lovely researchers. They've read the files, they've seen the horrors, and they can tell you whether to write a will or just a thank you card. So, in closing, your best tool for survival isn't the steel-toe boots or the hard hat. It's your brain. Use it. Know your SCPs like you know the back of your hand, or in case you encounter SCP-021, a tattoo that becomes the back of your hand. Stay sharp, stay alive, and remember, ignorance is bliss. But here, it's also a one-way ticket to the afterlife. Tip 2. Orders are orders, no matter how weird. Welcome to your second survival lesson as a Class D guinea pig. personnel, at the SCP Foundation. If you thought your old boss was a stickler for rules, you're in for a treat. Here, following orders isn't just about avoiding a write-up. It's about avoiding becoming the subject of a tragic, or just plain gross, lab report. First things first. When a guy in a lab coat tells you to do something, you do it, even if it sounds bonkers. If Dr. Nerdberg tells you to dance the Macarena in front of SCP-504, a tomato that apparently hurls itself at you for bad jokes, just start shaking those hips. It's not about dignity here. It's survival, people. And trust me, you haven't known humiliation until you've been pelted by a supersonic salad ingredient. Now, some of you might think, but what if the order sounds really dangerous? Look, buddy, you're in a facility where the coffee machine could potentially send you back to the Jurassic period. Dangerous got redefined the moment you stepped through that door marked Authorized Personnel Only, which, by the way, was your first test. And yes, you passed by entering. Sometimes the orders may feel like they're messing with you, like when they tell you not to look at SCP-096's face. You might think, what's the harm in a peek? Well, imagine the worst case of ghosting you've ever experienced, but instead of not texting back, they rip you apart. That's SCP-096. So when they say don't look, you keep your eyes on the damn floor and maybe start reevaluating some of your life choices. And here's a pro tip. Always ask how to correctly execute these orders. It's not just about doing what you're told, it's about doing it right. The difference between right and almost right can be the difference between still alive and... What the hell is that smell? Never assume you know better. These SCPs have quirks that make your ex seem downright reasonable by comparison. In conclusion, when you get orders, follow them like they're the holy grail of not dying a horrible death. Sure, it might seem like the researchers enjoy a power trip now and then, but at the end of the day, they probably don't want to scrape you off the ceiling either. That's a ton of paperwork, so dance that dance, avoid those glances, and remember, in the SCP Foundation, strange is just another day at the office. Tip 3. Never wander alone. Okay, take a seat, grab a snack, and let's chat about one of the golden rules of surviving in the SCP Foundation as Class D fodder. Personnel. Rule number 3. Never, ever wander alone. This isn't just sage advice for spooky corn mazes or trips to the bathroom during a horror movie marathon. It's a bona fide survival strategy when you're in a facility where the walls might listen, and not in the helpful, "Hey Siri" kind of way. First off, wandering alone in the SCP Foundation is like saying, I volunteer as tribute in the Hunger Games, but without any of the glory or sponsorship deals. Here's the thing. If something goes sideways, and it's not a question of if, but when you want a buddy. Why? Because when you're running from an SCP that's got a taste for human McNuggets, you don't need to be the fastest, just not the slowest. Imagine you're paired up with Bob from logistics. Bob runs like he's got 2 left feet. Sorry, Bob, but it's true. If SCP-682, the big bad lizard, breaks out and you're with Bob, your chances just doubled. Harsh, but that's the D-class life. Plus, Bob's good for a laugh, and you'll need that because laughter is the best way to forget you're basically in an anomalous blender waiting to be pureed. And it's not just about escaping. 2 heads are better than 1 when it comes to figuring out the cryptic crap these SCPs throw at you. Say you're faced with SCP-012, a piece of music that makes you want to finish it with your blood. If you're alone, who's going to pull you away when you start thinking, hey, maybe just a quick stanza? That's right, your buddy. Hopefully not Bob this time, because he's still catching his breath. Let's not forget, wandering alone makes you a prime target for tests. Researchers love pulling the old divide and conquer technique on lone Class Ds. It's easier to coax one into just a quick experiment than 2, because the second might actually remember the brief about not trusting Dr. Smiles too much. In conclusion, if you take nothing else away from this guide, remember this. Always stick with a buddy. It's like the adult version of the buddy system you used in kindergarten, only this time, instead of holding hands to cross the street, you're holding hands to avoid being disintegrated, eaten, or worse, promoted to test subject of the month. Keep friends close, enemies not so much. And Bob? Keep him in sight, because you never know. Tip 4. Stay informed. Welcome back, future SCP survivalists. Our next lesson is crucial. Stay informed. You're in the big leagues now, where ignorance isn't just bliss. It's a one-way ticket to, holy shit, why is that statue moving? And why did it just blink at me? Knowledge is power, especially in a place where what you don't know can and absolutely will try to kill you. First up, make it your mission to know as much as you can about the daily goings-on around the Foundation. This isn't your grandma's gossipy knitting circle, but trust me, overhearing Dr. What's-His-Face talk about SCP-173's containment breach could be the difference between you having a future coffee break or becoming coffee ground. Attend every briefing like it's the hottest ticket in town. Hell, if they gave out popcorn, it would beat movie night hands down. You'll get the scoop on which SCPs are particularly pissy that day, or if any are scheduled for testing. It's like getting the daily weather report, except instead of bring an umbrella, it's don't look at the murderous sculpture. And hey, remember those emergency procedures they drone on about during orientation? Learn them, love them, make them your new gospel. Each procedure is like a cheat code to surviving another day. No one wants to be the guy who mixes up code red, fire, with code dead, deadly telepathic broadcast, right? Spoiler, it ends with a lot fewer fire extinguishers and a lot more existential dread. Here's a tip within a tip. Buddy up with the staff. Not in a creepy way, but in a, hey, I'm genuinely interested in not dying today. Any tips? kind of way. Guards, researchers, even the janitorial staff. These folks see things. They know which hallways to avoid, which SCPs are acting up, and where the good bathrooms are. Trust me. When containment breaches hit the fan, you'll want to have been nice to the guy who knows all the secret exits. Reading is your next best friend. And no, I'm not talking about catching up on Harry Potter for the 10th time. Dive into those SCP files if you can. Some are as classified as a Pentagon toilet seat, but others are available for your terrified perusal. Know what makes these anomalies tick, and maybe, just maybe, you'll tick on a bit longer too. Keep an ear out for rumors too. Yes, gossip is not just for reality TV stars and high schoolers. In here, knowing that SCP-939 prefers to mimic last words can save you from becoming its next meal. Hey, that sounds like Bob. No, it's not Bob. It never was Bob. Lastly, remember that staying informed doesn't just help you survive. It makes you valuable. And in a place where your life expectancy rivals that of a mayfly, being valuable is the second best thing to being invisible. So, learn, listen, and for the love of all things not contained in a glass box, use that information. Stay safe, stay smart, and stay alive. And remember, when it comes to the SCP Foundation, a little knowledge is not a dangerous thing. It's essential. Tip 5. Keep calm and carry on, surviving mentally. Welcome back, my Class D daredevils. Buckle up. Because now we're tackling the mental gymnastics of surviving at the SCP Foundation. Because, let's face it, keeping your sanity here is tougher than explaining Tinder to your grandma. First off, the mental game in this place is not for the faint of heart. You might find yourself face to face with a creature that defies the laws of physics, or maybe something that looks suspiciously like your ex, but with more tentacles. The key here is to not lose your shit. Easier said than done, right? But remember, panic is what the SCPs feed on. Well, that and your flesh, but mostly the panic. How do you keep your cool? Start with the basics. Deep breaths, counting backwards from 10, picturing your happy place. Though if your happy place was safe and cozy, you probably wouldn't be in D class, would you? So maybe just stick with the breathing. Next, it's crucial to maintain a routine. The SCP Foundation might be a circus of cosmic horrors, but that doesn't mean you can't have a schedule. Exercise, read, engage in therapeutic screaming sessions into your pillow. Whatever keeps you feeling like you haven't completely plunged into madness. Humor is another survival tool. Yes, laughing in the shadow of the abyss might seem like madness, but it's the kind of madness that keeps the rest of the darkness at bay. Crack jokes, even if they're just in your head. Heck, you're in the best place for dark humor to thrive because nothing gets darker than SCP, Redacted's containment cell on a cloudy day. Tip 6. Observe and report quietly. Welcome back to the D-Class Diaries, where the stakes are high, the pay is non-existent, and the odds of survival are about as good as your chances of winning the lottery. Twice. Next, we're delving into the art of observation and reporting, because here at the SCP Foundation, seeing something and saying something might just save your ass, unless it gets you killed first. First rule of SCP Club: if you see something, say something. But, and it's a Kardashian-sized but, do it quietly. You don't want to be that guy who yells, "Holy shit, what the hell is that?" when you spot a potential breach. Why? Because SCPs, like creepy exes, might just be attracted to the sound of your voice. Instead, master the art of the discreet report. Think of it as gossiping, but instead of spreading rumors about who's dating who in the office, you're whispering about which unspeakable horror is trying to escape its cell. Now, how do you observe without becoming observed? Keep your eyes wide and your profile low. Think of yourself as a ninja. A very underpaid, overexposed ninja. You want to be the person who notices that SCP, Redacted, is looking a bit more homicidal than usual without making it aware that you're onto it. It's a fine line between observant and overt, and crossing it can be deadly. What do you do once you've spotted something off? Memorize the details. What did the anomaly look like, sound like, smell like? Yes, even the smell matters. Because if you don't know whether that scent was sulfur or cherry blossoms, are you even trying? Then, find the nearest guard, researcher, or if you're out of luck, the nearest wall-mounted emergency phone, and relay your intel with all the calm and charm of a person who isn't about to pee their pants. Remember, your report can mean the difference between a contained SCP and a full-scale breach. Your keen eye might just bring to light something the boffins missed, like the fact that SCP-1234 now sings lullabies before it devours its prey. Fascinating, right? And potentially useful if singing back delays your imminent consumption. Lastly, practice your poker face. When you report, do it with the confidence of someone who's seen it all, not someone who's about to run screaming for the hills. You want to come off as cool, collected, and completely in control. So keep those eyes sharp, your voice down, and your reports flowing. Stay observant, stay smart, and for heaven's sake, stay out of the anomaly's personal space. This isn't a petting zoo, and you definitely don't want to find out what happens when you poke the interdimensional bear. Tip 7. Learn basic defense. Are you ready for our next tip, Class D Dynamos? Strap in, because we're diving into the surprisingly useful world of basic self-defense. Yes, when you're dealing with entities that can phase through walls or read minds, a karate chop might seem about as useful as a chocolate teapot. But trust me, knowing how to throw a punch, or better yet, a tactical retreat, can make all the difference when shit hits the fan. First off, let's get one thing straight. When I say basic defense, I don't mean you should be gearing up to box with SCP-682. If that beast gets loose, your best bet isn't fisticuffs, it's finding a new zip code. Fast. However, there are plenty of lesser threats around here where a good old-fashioned right hook or a swift kick in the nether regions might just save your bacon. Start with the basics. Running. Yes, running is a defense strategy. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. In the Foundation, it's less about how fast you are, and more about how strategic you are with your escape routes. Know the layout, know the hiding spots, and for the love of all that's holy, wear shoes you can sprint in. This isn't the time for fashion. Those flip-flops will be the death of you. Literally. Next up, learn to block and dodge. Sometimes you can't run. Maybe you're cornered, or maybe you're just too damn curious for your own good. That's when knowing how to duck and weave comes in handy. Picture it. SCP-173 is barreling down on you, and you pull off a dodge that would make a matador weep with envy. Congrats, you just earned yourself a few more seconds of precious life. Now, let's talk about improvisation. The Foundation isn't exactly brimming with weapons caches for D-class personnel, which means you need to get creative. That clipboard, it's a shield. Those pens, miniature spears. And that janitor's mop? Today, it's a jousting lance. The key here is to use your environment to your advantage. Remember, the goal isn't to win, it's to not lose spectacularly. Lastly, and maybe most importantly, practice makes perfect. I'm not suggesting you start fight clubs in your downtime, though that would make the security footage more interesting. But stay sharp. Keep your reflexes tuned, and maybe throw a few practice punches at a pillow when no one's looking. Just remember, when it comes to defense in the SCP Foundation, sometimes the best fight is the one you avoid. So there you have it, heroes in waiting. Arm yourselves with knowledge, a good pair of sneakers, and a healthy dose of paranoia. Keep those legs ready to run, those arms ready to block, and always, always keep your eyes on the exit. You might not outfight an SCP, but with a little luck and a lot of sprinting, you might just outlast it. Tip 8. Master the layout. Alright, brave souls of Class D, our next lesson in the How Not to Die Horribly at the SCP Foundation series is about mastering the layout of this twisted wonderland. Let's face it, knowing where you are is half the battle, because you can't run screaming from an SCP if you accidentally sprint into a broom closet. Though, props for irony if you do. Picture this. You're in a building where hallways twist like a politician's promises and rooms change place like a shell game hustler at work. The walls aren't just walls. They might be portals. Or worse, they're watching you. Yeah, not just a metaphor here. Navigating this place without a clue is like trying to do a Rubik's Cube blindfolded and handcuffed. Fun for a party trick, not so much when your life depends on it. Step 1. Learn the major landmarks. No, not like the Eiffel Tower. More like, there's the cafeteria where Joe got turned into a sentient jello mold, or that's the hallway that likes to eat interns. These landmarks are your breadcrumbs out of the witch's house, so to speak. Secondly, get a map. If they won't give you one because security reasons or they enjoy watching you wander like a lost puppy on CCTV, then make one. Start simple. Draw out routes from your regular haunts, your cell, the testing labs, the break room. Add details as you go, and for the love of sanity, share it with your buddies. Just don't let the guards catch you, or it's solitary confinement in the room of unnecessarily creepy dolls. Now practice your routes. You know how fire drills at school were annoying, but kind of fun because you got out of math class? It's like that. But the fun is more about not dying than skipping algebra. Walk your escape routes, note any changes, because this place changes more often than a chameleon at a disco. And always have a plan B route in case your primary path is compromised by, say, a sudden appearance of a fleshy wall where the exit used to be. Lastly, if all else fails, follow the maintenance crew. Those guys have an uncanny knack for knowing the bowels of the beast better than anyone, except maybe the beast itself. They navigate these corridors with a zen-like calm that either comes from years of experience or a complete resignation to fate. Either way, sticking close to them in a crisis isn't the worst strategy. So, there you have it. Learn the layout like your life depends on it. Because, well, it does. Stay alert, keep updating your mental map, and maybe, just maybe, you'll avoid becoming part of the decor. Remember, in the SCP Foundation, not all those who wander are lost. Some are just trying to find the bathroom. Tip 9. Emergency Procedures Mastery. Alright, my Class D heroes. Next up is the exhilarating world of emergency procedures at the SCP Foundation. If you thought IKEA assembly instructions were a test of your will to live, you're in for a real treat. These protocols aren't just guidelines. They're the fine line between you sipping stale coffee tomorrow morning and becoming part of tomorrow's SCP cleanup mess. First off, let's talk about alarms. In a normal job, hearing an alarm might mean a fire drill, or maybe, if you're lucky, an ice cream truck making rounds. Here, it means something is probably loose that shouldn't be, and that something usually isn't keen on making friends. The key is knowing which alarm means run fast, and which means hide immediately. Misinterpreting these could be the difference between a thrilling Tuesday and a very final Tuesday. Each type of alarm or emergency has a color-coded procedure. Yes, they've color-coded them because apparently we're toddlers that need bright visual aids. Red might mean containment breach, bad. Blue could mean atmospheric contamination, also bad. And green might just be a drill, deceptively bad because you should treat it as real. Learn these colors as if your next birthday depends on it, because it just might. Now, drills are your best friend. They're like rehearsals for a play where flubbing your lines could lead to an otherworldly entity using your ribcage as a xylophone. Participate actively. When they say evacuate, don't dawdle to save your snack. Your chips aren't worth your life, though on some of the longer shifts, it might feel that way. Documentation is your next Bible. There are binders, often dusty and ignored, filled with every possible scenario mapped out. Find these. Read them during your downtime. Yes, even over that thrilling game of which mold is growing fastest on my sandwich. These pages might be the only thing standing between you and becoming part of the SCP's interior decor scheme. Lastly, let's be real. Keeping your head cool during an actual emergency is tougher than convincing a cat to perform synchronized swimming. Panic is natural. But remember, panic is what gets you featured in the SCP's monthly In Memoriam newsletter. Deep breaths, remember your training, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find yourself laughing over how you thought you were a goner when SCP-999 turned out to just want a cuddle. So, arm yourself with knowledge, a good pair of running shoes, and an ungodly amount of luck. Master those emergency procedures like they're your favorite video game cheat codes, because in this game, the stakes are your life. And remember, always know where the nearest exit is, even if it's just a window you need to throw a chair through. Desperate times, desperate measures. Tip 10. Trust no one completely. Welcome to the final tip of your survival guide to the SCP Foundation, where paranoia is not a disorder. It's a goddamn job requirement. Next lesson is simple, yet vital. Trust no one completely. In this high-stakes game of monstrous peekaboo, even your shadow might rat you out. So, buckle up. It's about to get real sneaky in here. Let's start with the basics. The Foundation is a labyrinth of secrets, and not the kind that lead to hidden treasure. More like the kind that lead to a sudden, unexpected meeting with a sentient black hole in the broom closet. So, when it comes to the people around you, from the highbrow researchers to your fellow D-class peons, keep one eye open. Sharing a meal doesn't mean sharing your escape plan, especially if that plan involves stealing someone's clearance card. Now, I'm not saying you should start wearing tinfoil hats, though wouldn't hurt to check if SCP-148 can block out telepathic SCPs. But a healthy dose of skepticism, that's your best friend here. Remember, in a facility where manipulating reality is just another Tuesday, anyone could literally be anything. That charming scientist could be an SCP. That friendly janitor also could be an SCP. That hot coffee in your hand? Oh, you guessed it. Could damn well be an SCP. Build alliances, sure, but keep your cards close to your chest. It's like being in a poker game where the stakes are your organs staying inside your body. Smile, nod, share some superficial banter about the weather, or the lack thereof inside subterranean containment cells. But when it comes to crucial info, zip it, and always be wary of too much curiosity. If someone's digging too deep into your business, it's not because they're penning your biography. They might be fishing for intel, setting you up for a fall, or worse, nominating you for the next test that no one returns from. Be as charming as a TV show host, but as guarded as a night watchman at Fort Knox. To wrap this up with a neat little bow of cynicism, trust is a luxury you can't afford in the SCP Foundation. Keep your friends close, your enemies in a containment cell, and your escape plans encrypted. In this world, the less you trust, the longer you might just survive. And remember, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean an SCP isn't out to get you, or that your new buddy isn't one wearing a very convincing human suit. Surviving SCP Foundation, the the Class D way. Well, folks, we've reached the end of this not-so-little survival guide tailored specifically for you, the brave, or just incredibly unlucky, souls of Class D at the SCP Foundation. If you've stuck with me this far, congratulations! You're either very committed to living through your tenure here, or you've run out of other reading material in your containment cell. By now, you should have a solid grasp on the essentials of dodging, ducking, and, most importantly, not dying from the wide array of anomalous threats housed within these concrete walls. From learning how to not look at things that desperately want to be looked at, to mastering the art of the strategic sprint, you're now better equipped to face the daily hazards that come with your D-Class badge. But, let's be real. No guide, no matter how detailed, can cover every bizarre and downright absurd situation you might encounter in this place. The SCP Foundation is a constant test of your wits, your will, and sometimes your ability to not scream when faced with the inexplicable. Remember, staying alive here doesn't always require being the strongest or the fastest. It's about being the smartest, the most adaptable, and occasionally, the most underhanded. Keep your eyes open, your head down, and your running shoes tied tight. Maintain that delicate balance between curiosity and caution, because too much of the former without enough of the latter can make your career here spectacularly short-lived. And finally, always remember the first rule of SCP survival. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably wants to eat you. Here's to hoping your days at the Foundation are as enlightening as they are elongated. Until then, keep this guide close. You never know when you'll need a refresher on how not to become another footnote in the endless archives of the SCP Foundation. Stay sharp, stay alive, and let's prove that even a Class D can dodge death on a daily basis.